Hey Wanderers! Welcome back to another Foolish Wanderers podcast, the podcast about anything and everything. Today we're taking a trip back to the days of Prohibition to see some of the most clever and out-of-the-box ways people still obtained their libations. All right, so we're going to start off with a little brief history about Prohibition. So, Prohibition was the legal prevention of the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcoholic beverages in the U.S. from 1920 to 1933, under the terms of the 18th Amendment. So, although the temperance movement, which was widely supported, has succeeded in bringing about this legislation, millions of Americans were willing to drink liquor illegally,
Mm-hmm.
which is dangerous, very dangerous. It can be.
Yep.
So which gave rise to the bootlegging, which is illegal production and sale of liquor, and speakeasies, which like are secret bars that you have to like a little passcode to get into, and both of which were capitalized upon by organized crime.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I have a little fun thing.
Oh,
So
okay.
it wasn't illegal to drink alcohol during the Prohibition, just that it was illegal to manufacture, sale, and the transportation of intoxicating liquors. So it's not illegal to consume them. By
Okay.
law, any wine, beer, or spirits Americans had stashed away in January of 1920 were theirs to keep and enjoy in their homes. So for most, that's like that only like amounted to like a few bottles of like beer or
Hmm.
wine, but for like rich people or affluent drinkers, they had huge wine cellars, that were already filled. So
Yeah. So yeah, which like in a way too, like that's makes it like a loophole that's even more dangerous because you're gonna try to come up with ways to make your own,
mhm,
which can be very dangerous.
like prison wine.
Yeah, we'll kind of get into some of that. Alright, so if you guys don't know what the temperance movement was, I kind of didn't either, so I googled it. So the temperance movement is a movement dedicated to promoting moderation and, more often, the complete abstinence of use of intoxicating liquor. And then, as a result, the Prohibition era also is remembered as a period of gangsterism characterized by competition and violent turf battles between criminal gangs.
Yay! Safety. Isn't that nice?
Fun!
They were like, "We're gonna save you and turn you to Jesus," and then now it's just
Yeah.
known as just gangs, violent turf battles.
Yeah, it's like the complete opposite of what they wanted, like
Think that
the
happens a
goal.
lot. That goes hand in hand throughout history, right?
Yeah, yeah, sadly, yeah.
Mhm. I did see that also that the prohibition had been tried before by the
Oh, did it?
temperance movement. So
Okay.
in like the early 19th century, the activists scored major victory in 1851 for the temperance movement when Maine legislature passed a statewide prohibition on selling alcohol. A dozen
Hmm,
other states soon instituted Maine laws of their own, only to repeal them a few years later after the widespread opposition and riots
yeah.
from beer loving citizens. And Kansas later instituted a separate ban in 1881. So calls for a dry America continued into the 1910s when deep pocketed and politically connected groups such as the Anti Saloon League
Oh
and,
my, what a
and the
name.
Women's Christian Temperance Union gained widespread support for the anti alcohol legislation on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C.
Isn't that crazy? Like, I don't know, I guess to me it's like there's something so ingrained in the culture, like, all throughout history, like, people drink wine and beer and, like, whatever. Like, it's
Mhm.
just part of culture, right? So to try to, like, completely wipe that out, that's a little bit insane, isn't it?
Yeah, and also if you think about it, in the state of Wisconsin, it's what is it? You can be if your parent is with you and you go to a bar, your parent can buy your underage child a beer.
Yeah, yeah, I've
And
heard that.
mhm. Also, in the late I don't know this exact date or anything like that, but in the late 70s or early 80s, when the United States had to change their, alcohol consumption age to 21, all of
Mhm.
them,
Yeah.
Wisconsin was, like, the last one to change it, and so the
Hmm.
US basically said, "Okay, you can keep the age to 18 or 19 or 20, but you won't get any funds for roads from us. You will
Oh,
only get funds for your roads if you change it to 21. And Wisconsin was the last person to change it. They had,
yeah.
like, their foot in the mud, they're like, "No."
Well, what
So
is like Wisconsin? Is there like a lot of German settle
mhm,
like immigrant? Okay, so that's probably
huge
why, because they
German.
have it's beer is like their culture,
Good
right? Like
point.
that's their
Yeah, so it is deeply ingrained in the culture.
yeah. So like that kind of makes sense. I mean, like I yeah. Okay, so so what caused prohibition? So the noble experiment was undertaken to reduce crime and corruption, solve social problems, reduce the tax burden created by prisons and poorhouses, and improve health and hygiene in America. So that was their goal with like bringing about prohibition. That was what they were trying to do is reduce crime, didn't work, and corruption didn't work.
Like, improve your health or something, not being drunk on the street or something like
Yeah,
that, right?
which I mean like
Not being an alcoholic, like, getting rid of alcoholism would be there.
yeah. So I mean, like I can see kind of that, like trying to help people with
Mhm,
that, but yeah, it just kind of hit in a weird way that it didn't work at all.
mhm. I
So,
also saw that World War One kind of helped turn the nation in favor of prohibition.
oh really?
So, people were saying that they were using the argument that, like, the dry advocates, that's what they're called, the
Okay,
anti-liquor dry advocates.
okay,
They
okay.
kept arguing that barley that's used in brewing beer could be made into bread to feed the American soldiers and the
Uh,
war-ravaged Europeans.
I mean, I guess I could see that, right? Like if you're
Mhm.
running low on like rations and stuff, like that makes more sense to make bread and like an actual form of sustenance for them than
Yeah.
drinking all of it. So I get that point.
I mean, it was smart of I mean, I don't get it, but I mean, it was smart of them to be like, "Hey."
Yeah. Here's a good use for it.
Yep.
Yeah. I also have a fun fact. So, when you think of the perfect symbol for not drinking, what comes to mind? Like, what kind of animal would come to mind?
Not drinking?
Yeah,
A bird? I don't
a
even
bird.
know.
Well, okay, so Prohibition was actually represented by a party much like the political parties in America, so Republican and
Mhm.
Democrats.
Elephants, donkey, okay.
Mhm. But the Prohibition Party chose a camel to represent them.
What?
So that was their
Wait,
mascot.
isn't camels drink water though, right?
Yes, and they
They
hold it
even
like
s yeah, they
crazy.
hold it
They store
in they store it in their
it.
bodies. Do these
Yes.
people not know that?
I don't know.
They love it, yeah, they love water so much they store it in their bodies to save for later.
Yep.
Yep, camel, okay.
It's a camel. Here, let me Google why they chose a camel. Okay, so they chose a camel to represent the Prohibition Party because, like prohibitionists, generally camels don't drink very often, and when they do drink, they drink only water.
Okay.
That's why.
I that's the dumbest thing.
And so eventually, I guess they changed their camel image to be to a bacterian camel, so that way it's not associated with the camel logo on camel cigarettes.
They changed because the logo on Camel cigarettes is dromedary, right?
Yep.
With the one hump
So they
and then the
changed
back.
it.
That's hilarious. You
Yeah.
know, it's so funny to me because these dry people
Yeah.
are doing it, like, kind of like, it's the Christian thing to do, or they're very, like, religious, weird, extremist things, but if you think about if, like, you're gonna, use that as your main fire for your torch or whatever, monks invented beer.
Yeah, they did.
And in the Bible, Noah invented wine. He let grapes, like, rot in that cave, and he just got drunk off of them.
Yeah, so it's like
And
is
Jesus turned water into wine.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
somebody
So fun fact, they actually changed passages in the Bible during Prohibition to not include wine or, like, liquor.
what? So what was Jesus turning the water into?
I don't know. I had to look it up. Yeah.
Kool-Aid?
Drinking.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
No. Oh, that's bad. That's really bad.
Oh, another thing I saw. So the anti-alcohol crusaders, they were kind of xenophobic.
Okay.
And, like, World War One allowed them because World War One, is against Germany,
Mhm.
as
Yeah.
is World War Two, but
Yes.
well,
Yeah,
yeah,
definitely World War II,
mhm.
but
But and the war allowed them to paint America's, German brewing industry as a threat,
oh,
so one of
okay.
their quotes, one of the temperance politicians said, "And the worst of all, our German enemies, the most treacherous, the most menacing, are Pabst, Schlitz, Blatz, and Miller, which are all popular beer brands.
I've only heard of Miller, actually.
Okay, so Pabst Blue Ribbon would be Pabst.
Oh, okay.
Schlitz, I don't think Schlitz exists, or Blatz. I don't think they exist either, but they were huge at the time.
All right. So now we're going to talk about some interesting ways that people hid liquor, like either in their house or like when they're out and about. It's kind of interesting. This is the fun stuff to read about, in my
People can
opinion.
be creative when they want to be drunk.
Like in any situation, right? Like you're
Mhm.
trying to hide something or like get away with something. People are very creative.
Very creative.
Yeah.
Like if you were like some children when they're teenagers or whatever and they wanna drink their parents' alcohol, they'll add water to, like, water down, and if they, like, drink whiskey or something,
Mhm.
add water to back to the level of which they took.
See, with
People
that,
are sneaky.
yeah, sneaky. But I've also seen things on TikTok now. It's like put them in the freezer, and if they freeze, ooh,
I'm
someone,
gonna write that down.
yeah, because alcohol doesn't freeze. So
That's
if
true.
it freezes, your kid
I'm
put
gonna
water
write
in it.
that down. Future Kendra's gonna be
Foreshadowing.
happy about that.
There you go. You listen to this podcast
Mhm.
a few years down the road, you'd be like, well,
Oh,
time to
many
go
years
check.
down the road. What do
Yeah.
you think?
What, like 10 years? No, no, it'd be more than 10 years. It'd
Oh
be like
my
20
god,
years.
yeah, like 20 years. I'm not just gonna, like, crap out a 16-year-old child tomorrow or next year and be like
I
that'd
really
be
hope your
so
kids
creepy.
don't touch a liquor bottle when they're 10 years old. That's really scary.
That's very scary.
Yeah. Back to
Oh my
prohibition.
god, I gotta get back to that.
Alright, so the first one that I have is what I titled A Very Good Read. So, in order to hide their liquor, some crafty folks hid and disguised flasks. So, one example of these flasks is a fake book that when you pull on one of the corners, it came off to reveal of the spout of a flask. So
That's
basically,
very clever.
yeah, it's just like a fake book. You stick a flask in it. Yeah, it's pretty good. You just hide it in your shelf, or you can carry it around. It's just a book. Nothing to
It's
see.
just a book. It's
And
just Jane Eyre, nothing more.
ooh, very sophisticated lady. I'm
Jane
reading.
Eyre of the dog. That was
What?
bad.
I was like, wait, what?
'Cause, like, I was like, "Oh, hair of the dog, Jane Eyre of the dog."
Uh,
See, it's bad. Shame on me.
it's another one that I saw too was someone hollowed out. I think you can still buy these actually. It's like is a cane, and so they hollowed out the inside and had a screw on the top. So you just like tip the cane into your glass. It's like it's very like I guess they're about the same level of inconspicuous, right? Because like if
Mhm,
you're drinking from a book, like it's pretty dang obvious,
mhm.
and like if you tip a cane onto the table, like it's kind of obvious, but it's still clever,
That's
right?
hilarious.
It's good. It's clever. It's like if you're just walking on the street, no one's gonna stop you and be like, "What's in your cane?"
Yeah, what
Right?
show us your cane. Yeah, take
Show
the
us your
cane
cane.
away. Let us inspect the cane.
This poor like old like lady or man is just like, "What? What are you talking about? My cane." All right, so the next one that I have is a very sneaky lamp. So some folks resorted to altering their home furnishings, like hollowing out a table lamp to house an alcohol bottle. So like I'll put these images on our Instagram page at Foolish Wonders Podcast at Instagram. But yeah, so basically this table lamp is thick enough at the base
Mhm.
where they like opened it up somehow and they fit a full liquor bottle in it, like a beer, like a little bit bigger than a beer bottle.
Oh, I see that now. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, like, if a police, like, personnel would come into your house,
Who
like,
would
looking
look
for
at a
liquor
lamp?
exactly, like, you wouldn't unless you had,
Very
like, a sneaky
clever.
suspicion. Yeah, it's pretty good. Alright, so the next one I have is called Sneaky.
What?
Uh,
Sneaky
I don't know.
girl.
Sneaky, I don't know what to name this one. So in the era when women were underestimated and dismissed as the delicate gender or sex, women made great rum runners during the Prohibition. Rum runners.
Rumrunners.
It's a fun word to say. So, for starters, many states had laws which forbade women from having to, like police couldn't search them. So like they were off
Okay,
limits.
okay.
So yeah, so it made it very easy for ladies to smuggle booze.
Very easy.
Oh yeah, way too easy for them to smuggle booze under their drop waist fashions and fur coats. So like if you had like a bigger skirt or like a bigger coat, you just hide some like they had different contraptions for like strapping like different bottles or like almost like keg looking things, like very like tiny kegs, like strapped underneath their garments, and like that's how they would smuggle it
Oh
because no
my
one could
gosh.
search them. So
Can
it's
you
like
imagine, like, having to, like, walk very slowly to
yeah.
prevent, like, the sloshing noises?
Yeah.
That'd be
Yeah.
heavy too.
It's very heavy. Yeah. Some of these things, like some of these bottles, they're like a little bit bigger, I think, than normal wine bottles today. So it's
Great
like,
workout.
yeah.
That's the new
There you go.
fad, and if
Oh no, Kendra's gonna start it. Instead of goat yoga,
it's
it's
yeah,
alcohol
rum runners,
Pilates. Rumrunners.
rum runners.
That would be a good gym name. You should open it up in like LA or
In
something.
no, in Wisconsin, it'd be a good one.
Oh, but you need beer, like keg runner.
Keg
Oh, it's a
runner.
keg crawls. Do a keg crawl gym.
Yeah, you just you'd like use an empty keg, like a huge empty keg,
And just
to
like
weight
carry it around
free
like
weight.
you're walking or like crawling
Or
around.
you're
Heck
using it
yeah.
like a kettlebell and like doing like keg
Mhm.
swings.
Keg swings. I swear we can make a whole gym off this
Here we
stuff.
go. We're
Yes.
trademarking this idea, so don't you think about stealing it.
Yes. It's our new business venture.
Mhm.
So now we're gonna get into some sneaky legal workarounds or like different ways people made or like got a hold of some booze.
Okay.
So this one is called a true booze cruise. Thank you. So during Prohibition, if you were lucky enough to live on a coast, you could hop aboard a cruise ship, travel around, and drink as much alcohol as you wanted.
Because it's international waters, correct?
Yep, I believe so. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah, so
Doesn't work? Yeah.
it's not illegal to drink
That's what
it.
I would do. I'd go in a boat.
Just sit there for like a couple hours
Yep.
and drink. Yep,
Mhm.
and move out to the coast. All right, so the next one, this is where we're gonna get into some of the more dangerous stuff. So this one's killer bathtub gin.
That sounds awful.
Yeah,
Wait, that's kind of a cool band name, Killer Bathtub Gin.
kind of. Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe tweak it a little bit. Yeah, I like it. I feel like anything could be a cool band name if you work hard enough. It's like come up right,
Well,
like
give me
almost
another
anything.
one.
Hmm.
See, you can't. Killer Bathtub Gin is a good one.
Well, booze cruise.
Nah, that's like that's
Yeah.
like a good if you do like cover bands for like Neil Diamond and you work on a cruise
Booze
ship.
cruise.
They do
Yeah,
like
booze cruise.
mhm.
Yeah. So bathtub gin, aka moonshine, was offered during Prohibition, but the often unsanitary conditions left many people sick. So in fact, the
Ugh.
government once was said to have poisoned industrial alcohol that was being sold by bootleggers in order to scare people into sobriety. The result was an estimated 10,000 deaths.
Oh my god. I also read that this bathtub gin, like you
Mhm.
could be struck blind. Like you could go
'Cause it was so
blind from
strong.
drinking it because it was so bad and
Yeah.
or poison you and some people
Yeah.
died from
Yeah, it's
drinking it.
scary stuff 'cause, like, you don't know what you're doing, you're just trying to make some sort of alcohol and putting stuff in there.
Mhm. It's a
And it's
like
like
the alcohol that they were using is made for use in fuels and medical supplies.
So, like, when the government poisoned this alcohol, which is also bad for, like, if it was used for medical situations, like, that's really
Uh-huh.
bad anyways,
Ugh.
but yeah, so if they used it to make this gin or whatever they're making, like, it's poison and, like, unwillingly killed thousands of people.
Oh yeah, don't drink bathtub gin.
Very messed up.
Very
Okay.
messed up.
So the next one is delicious medicine. So don't you love my names? I love them.
I love them too.
So alcohol could be prescribed for medical complaints, leading to a legal yet loaded scenario where doctors became bartenders. If patients had a few dollars to pass over the counter, they could quench their thirst. So there have been many people who are being prescribed alcohol because there is perceived medical needs, but it was really just a way for some physicians and pharmacists to make a few extra bucks under the table. So they're basically bribing them, like, give me some alcohol, and
Yeah,
then you get
so
this 30 bucks.
it's called like medical whiskey, so it would be used to treat everything from toothaches to the flu.
Yeah, so like really unnecessary things, but yeah.
Yep, and the patients could get a prescription so they could legally buy a pint of hard liquor every 10 days.
That's nuts. That's, I mean, in a time where you can buy it, that's nuts. That's a lot.
So, according to Prohibition historian Daniel Okrent, windfalls from legal alcohol sales helped the drugstore chain of Walgreens
Oh,
grow
really?
from around 20 locations to more than 500 during the 1920s. So,
Wow.
there you go. Walgreens definitely made bank on people's
This needs?
needs.
Dang. I mean, good for them. They're still around today, so.
That's how they made it.
Wow.
That's painted now.
It's tainted. Okay, so now we're going to talk about some strange and like unique ways bootleggers transported liquor.
I like it.
So the
There's
first
more
one,
unique ways than having like women wear
yes,
beer
smoke-
skirts or
smoke-
whatever and
yes,
scurry quickly down the street.
yeah, yeah. Well, there's a lot more. It's kind of fascinating, actually. So the first one that I have are hoof shoes.
What?
So these cow or pig shoes were used by bootleggers to cover their footprints in the woods, going to and from Moonshine brewery sites
What do you mean
where they're
cow
hidden.
shoes? You said cow shoes so, like, easily. I don't know what that means.
Hold on. The hoof prints were supposed to deter law enforcement who often tried tracking criminal operations by looking for human footprints in the forest. So they would either take like hooves from like slaughtered animals,
Uh-huh.
or they'd like carve them out of wood, which I think was more popular.
Okay.
But they'd take these wood like stents, like these prints,
Stamps,
stamp.
sort
There
of.
you go, stamps.
Okay.
There you go. They tie them or glue them or whatever to the bottom of their shoes, so when they'd walk, instead of leaving human footprints or shoe prints, it'd leave animal tracks. So like you wouldn't be following a human shoe, you'd be following
A
cow prints.
cow. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh. That's
isn't that
really
smart?
smart.
Yeah,
I would
it's.
never think of that.
I know it's like you're desperate. It's like, well, what are they
You're that
following?
desperate.
You're following footprints. Might as well be a cow.
A cow.
So the next one I have is a torpedo.
Huh?
So historians estimate that up to 75% of alcohol consumed during the Prohibition era in the US came from bootlegging operations between Windsor, Canada, and Detroit, Michigan, across the Detroit River.
Mhm.
So reportedly, ordinary people as well as gangsters transported up to 40 cases of alcohol an hour via alcohol-filled torpedoes, pulled across the river using an underwater cable system.
Where are the that's just
It's a lot.
that's a lot.
That's just,
First we went to I'm still not over the cow shoes, and now we're into, like, a sophisticated line of torpedoes. I'm just, like, imagining it like, so, in cartoons, if they show, like, 2 apartment buildings and they
Mhm.
have the laundry line, and one of the characters is, like,
Yeah.
pulling it to, like,
Yeah.
try and make, like, what is it called?
Like a pulley system?
Yeah, pulley system.
Mhm.
I'm just picturing that, like, people pulling, and it's just, like, torpedoes.
Yeah, it could be that, or it could. I bet it was kind of more like a engine kind of fueled thing too, but to make it easier.
Mhm.
But yeah, yeah, still very smart.
Creative.
The next one is even more creative. I dub it excellent. So you're welcome. So J. and Funderburg's Bootleggers and Beer Bardens of the Prohibition Era, this is a book, tells the true story of one unhurried smuggler caught in the US by customs agents after he dropped a basket of eggs. So agents discovered that the smuggler carefully poked tiny holes in all of the eggs, drained them, filled them with alcohol, and then sealed them back up.
That's very creative.
It's so smart.
Wow. So, I'm assuming he must have come from
Probably from Canada.
Canada, it seems?
I think so.
Yeah, because we okay.
Yeah. But isn't that insane? Like, he had the thought of, like, they're not going to check eggs. Let me hollow them out and seal them up carefully enough so you can't tell that I messed with them until they broke them. I guess,
Very clever.
isn't it? I saw another account too of like where someone was like caught on the street. Somehow like one got broken or like they could smell the alcohol, so then like they got caught by the police. But still, the valiant effort.
For eggs.
Eggs. Yes. All right. So the last one that I have, this story kind of started before Prohibition era,
Mhm.
but it's still kind of intertwined. So it is called a Rains sandwich. All right, here we go.
Alright.
So in 1896, in the state of New York, they introduced the alcohol exercise law, which later became known as the Raines Law, after its author, Senator John W. Raines. So the law restricted how and when alcohol could be sold in the state and aimed to crack down on public drunkenness, particularly in New York City. So kind of makes sense.
Makes sense.
So the Raines Law took aim at the city's thousands of seedy saloons by drastically increasing the annual cost of liquor licenses and raising the drinking age from 16 to 18.
It was 16?
Yeah, isn't that young?
For hard liquor?
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
mackerel.
Life
No
was hard
wonder
back
why
then,
I
too.
know. Whenever you look at a picture of somebody, you're like, "Oh, how old is that old man?" And then you look at the bottom with the description and it's like, "This 13-year-old man, this 13-year-old boy."
Oh,
You're like, "Oh my
no.
god, he looks like he's 40."
I know, life is just really hard,
Mhm.
especially back then. Nuts. So, the law also prohibited the sale of alcoholic beverages on Sundays, except in hotels and lodging houses with at least 10 rooms, where drinks could be served with complimentary meals. So, savvy operators were quick to exploit this loophole and continued selling booze throughout the week. So bar and saloon owners converted the extra space on their premises from attics to basements into the required number of lodgings. So they had 10 rooms.
Mm-hmm.
And then to meet the food requirement, they then devised the cheapest and very much the nastiest solution imaginable. All right.
Rats.
So no,
Not rats.
not quite that bad,
That's
but
the
it's
nastiest thing
close.
I can think of.
Rat sandwich.
A rat
No,
sandwich.
not quite. Okay, so when patrons entered one of the city's new Rains hotels
Mm-hmm.
and ordered a beer or a shot of something, whatever they ordered, a server would bring that to them along with the Rains sandwich. So oftentimes, no sooner than the plate had been set down on the table, the sandwich would then be whisked away back to the bar before accompanying another drink's order at a different table. So like basically they'd say, "Oh, I served them food with this drink," but they're not
You
eating it,
don't
so I
eat
take
it?
it. Yeah, you don't eat it. It's just so
Okay.
it's that loophole. Like technically, I served them with
They
food.
did give it food, but they didn't eat it. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so here it's gonna get a little bit worse. So drinkers would rarely complain because they still got their drink.
Mm-hmm.
While satisfying this legal loophole, the sandwiches were never intended to be eaten, often containing rubber or even bricks wedged between two slices of bread. Even when ingredients like ham and cheese were used as the filling, the sandwich could remain in rotation at the bar from anywhere from a whole day to a couple of weeks.
My
So the
thing is,
same sandwich.
why does it have to have any? Like, why can't it just be two slices of bread with nothing in the middle? Why add rubber and bricks?
That's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if they had like a law of like what pertained to be
Like,
like
it
a
has to have
sandwich.
something. Well, what kind of sick law is it where bricks and the rubber can be considered a sandwich?
I'm gonna look up the definition of a sandwich. Hold on.
Isn't it? Because then we're gonna get into the whole hot dog situation. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Or my definition of a sandwich is it's gotta be two slices of bread
Okay.
with like a filling, like meat, cheese, lettuce, all that stuff in the center, and you have to eat it like a sandwich. Like a hot dog is a whole nother thing. It's
Hot
not a sandwich to me.
Yeah, hot dog's a bun and
Yeah,
it's
it's a
technically
bun.
one piece of
But
bread.
then a hoagie is still a sandwich to me
Interesting.
because it's a
We can
bun.
we can get into that another time.
Mhm.
But so here's Google's definition of a sandwich. So an item of food consisting of two pieces of bread with meat, cheese, or other filling between them, eaten as a light meal.
But
So
this
that's
filling is not rubber or bricks.
but it says or other filling. So it doesn't say it has to be meat and cheese. It can
Well,
be
these
literally
dingbats
anything.
shouldn't be like filling in the spaces that it could be rubber or bricks.
Yeah, but if you're using this sandwich for 2 weeks, like, you might not want a moldy piece of cheese and rotten ham in between it,
I would just do
maybe,
bread.
but it needs something in between it.
Do bread. Bread sandwich. Bread,
Okay,
bread.
it's a bread sandwich.
Mhm.
Delicious. Delicious delicacy. Okay. So the playwright Eugene O'Neill described the typical Rain sandwich as an old, desiccated ruin of dust-laden bread and mummified ham or cheese.
Only a playwright could make something sound so elegant.
Delicious.
Ah.
Chef's kiss. Delicious. All right. So, in The Social History of Bourbon by Gerald Carson, he writes, once in a while, some yokel picked up on a Rain's Law sandwich and tried to eat it, and everybody had a good laugh, because, like, it's not meant to be eaten.
Oh, they
Like,
didn't
a poor person.
know.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's kind of sad. Carson also notes that there was at least one recorded incident of a man using a sandwich as a weapon during a barroom brawl,
Yeah, the brick.
which tragically ended his victim's life
Yeah,
because it was
with
a
the
brick.
brick. It was the brick sandwich.
Yeah, so it soon became clear that the legislation had failed in spectacular fashion. Within 1 year of the law's passing, New York City housed more than 1,500 Rains hotels. All could now legally serve alcohol at any hour of the day and on any day of the week, and would have ultimately continued doing so until the passing of Prohibition. So this like tradition of this Rains sandwich
Mhm.
lasted for years.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Very clever though, but jeez.
I know. It's like, why?
That's disgusting.
What's the
Just so they
point?
could get money. Okay.
Yeah, so they could serve alcohol, especially on Sundays, apparently.
Woo!
Yay!
Alright, so I did find this fun thing since we're sort of at the end of the episode, right? Sort of. So
Yeah,
the Great Depression helped fuel calls for a repeal of the prohibition.
I guess I can kind of see that.
So
Yeah.
by the late 1920s, Americans were spending more money than ever on black market booze.
Yeah.
So New York City boasted more than 30,000 speakeasies, and Detroit's alcohol trade was second only to the auto industry in its
Ooh,
contributions to the economy of Detroit. So, with the
wow.
country bogged down by the Great Depression, anti prohibition activists argued that potential savings and tax revenue from alcohol were too valuable to ignore. Duh, right?
Yeah.
So the public agreed, and after FDR, so that'd be Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president, called
Yep.
for appeal during the 1932 presidential campaign. He won the election in a landslide, and Prohibition was dead a year later when a majority of states ratified the 21st Amendment, repealing the 18th. So in New Orleans, the decision was honored with 20 minutes of celebratory cannon fire.
20
20
minutes?
minutes. Almost a half
Wow.
hour of cannons going off.
Oh, if your ears would be ringing. Dang.
Yeah. So that's how it ended. And it
Dang.
continues in some parts of the country to this very day, people. So some states still maintain a ban on alcohol within their own borders. Kansas and Oklahoma remained dry until 1948 and 1959, and Mississippi remained alcohol free until 1966, that's 33 years after the passage of the 21st Amendment. And then to this day, 10 states still contain counties where alcohol sales are prohibited outright.
That's what I was wondering. I was like, I think I've heard of dry counties still existing. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know where there's any near here, but I was like, I've heard of them. But
Once when I was young, a lot younger, we were doing a road trip, and we ended up somewhere in Indiana for the night,
okay.
and we went out to dinner at this place called Jedi's.
Oh, funny.
It was
I
yeah,
like
it was pretty
it.
funny. It was not Star Wars themed. It was
Oh,
an Italian
dang.
restaurant that kind of reminded me of an old country buffet or country kitchen or something of that nature, like Perkins.
That
Something
was
of that
not what I was
nature.
expecting. I was thinking like Jedis and like Wookiees and like all
Yeah.
this stuff.
And
Oh,
my
interesting.
mom wanted a glass of wine, and she couldn't have it because it was a dry county. And she
Wow.
was not very
Interesting.
happy because we had a long day in the car.
I'm tired of listening to Kendra cry.
Yeah. No, I would watch movies or bug them
This
with
is probably the bugging.
it's probably the bugging.
Yeah. Yeah, especially like at an Italian restaurant. That's
I
interesting.
know, but it was called Jedi, so not very
Hmm.
Italian sounding.
What
Jedi's
is that?
doesn't sound Italian to me.
Does it mean something in Italian?
Not
Jedi?
that I know of. Maybe it does.
Let me Google.
It's a me, Luke Skywalker. Be the Master Knight Jedi.
Oh no. Yeah, there's nothing. So there's just organizations. So nothing really.
Yeah,
It doesn't like stand for anything really, unless it was like a family name. That could
maybe
have
it
been.
was.
It could have been.
Maybe they were Italian Jedis. I don't know. Maybe they were just Jedis and they really liked Italian food.
What if there's like a bunch of Jedis like
In Indiana, in a dry
yeah.
county. Yeah. I don't know. Stranger things have happened. We just talked
Really?
about the Denver airport where there might be lizard people and, gates to hell.
Wait, I think I saw something. Hold on. Okay, so I just saw this thing. It actually came up on TikTok a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently, Earth has 2 extra hidden moons,
Where?
according to National Geographic.
Where?
So this is
And
a
how do they
national.
not see it?
Okay, so here's the article from National Geographic. So it says Earth's moon may not be alone. After more than half a century of speculation and controversy, Hungarian astronomers and physicists say they have finally confirmed the existence of 2 Earth-orbiting moons made entirely out of dust.
Dust moons?
Dust moons. Isn't that interesting? We
That
have
is.
more than one moon.
And Dust Moon is a very good name for a hippie child and or a
Dust
band.
Moon. Oh, that'd be a cool band name.
Mhm.
Dust Moon.
Mhm.
Heck yeah, yeah. We got two good band names in this episode.
We do.
Says that the team managed to capture snapshots of the mysterious clouds lurking just 250,000 miles away, roughly the same distance as the normal moon.
Mhm.
But yeah.
All right, people. So that was the Prohibition. Katrina, do we have any more sources or anything that our listeners can look into if they want to know more about some
Yeah,
facts?
so some of the sources that I used were vinepayer.com, messynessychic.com, history.com, atlasobscura.com, littlethings.com, and rackhousewhiskeyclub.com.
Ooh.
So I got a lot of interesting websites.
Mhm.
They actually had some really good information, so
And
yeah.
as always, there is Wikipedia.
Yes, of course. I
Which
actually
is-
didn't use Wikipedia this time. Isn't that impressive?
Ooh, that's very impressive. Flex.
Yeah, flex. Oh yes, I actually found other websites that had that information. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening to another Foolish Wanderers podcast. Again, if you'd like to check out the companion images for this episode, we have an Instagram at Foolish Wanderers Podcast. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, or if you'd like to, talk to us, like have a shout out or something, feel free to email us at fwplisteners@gmail.com. And just like every episode, we have the links to all of our social media and email and everything in the description of this podcast.
Mhm,
So if you
and-
have questions, check there.
And if you want, share this with your friends, family, families, goldfish, pets,
What's a good pet to share like a drinking story with? Like
a
what's
camel.
a camel? Your pet camel.
Yeah, share it with
Go
your
find a
pet
camel.
camel.
There you go. All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.